Hey guys, welcome back to another special episode of Dudes Lunch Chatting. I'm here with Jeremiah as always.
And I'm here with Jacob.
And today our topic is kind of going to go off of our last topic when we did another Dude Lunch Chatting. So when we're talking about Arcane, we're talking about League of Legends. If y'all haven't heard that episode or seen it, it's on our YouTube channel at Duelist Chat, or of course any podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, we kind of brought up the toxic community-ness of that, and we got a lot of feedback. Some good, some people got mad, and we just thought to ourselves, is it worth getting into a gaming community if it's toxic? But before we get to that, if you haven't, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on our social medias, Instagram at Duelist Chat, Twitter at Duelist Chat, TikTok at Duelist Chat. Like us on your podcast platforms. Before we get into that, since this is Dude Lunch Chatting, we gotta ask the question. What'd you have for lunch, Jeremiah?
Hey, I made myself some steak, 6 ounce of steak, and some seasoned potatoes that I cooked up last night. Put some mozzarella cheese on it, and that was my lunch, along with a piece of bread.
That sounds amazing. And what I had was Jeremiah's parents feeding me like I'm their son they've always wanted.
Oh, it must be nice.
It was really nice. They really love me, and I love them because they always feed me as if I'm their only son. Yeah. You got good parents.
They feed you food. They fed me depression. So it's just,
Hey, it's a good turnoff. But jumping into the topic. So, like I said, the reason we're talking about this, we got some feedback. I know, Jeremiah, you had a friend that was kind of like, how dare you?
Didn't like being referenced. Not in a bad way, but he was just like, you find me a part of this. And so we had to spend some time breaking down how he liked to approach his gaming and how I could perceive that, like the rest of the world, as toxic.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, you also had people on Facebook kind of say, like, League of Legends is still worth getting into, even if it is toxic.
Yep. When we pushed out the episode and stuff like that, I had a couple of people come up and say it's not that bad. One thing that got brought up, which I did bring up in the episode, was just mute it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to refer back to that. But it was interesting because that seemed to be a lot of our negative feedback. Yeah. It was just the as one person put it, assault on the game just because you don't like the people. Well, the people make up a free game. A free game is just a skeleton for the community itself. It is what it is, guys. But that got us to talking kind of behind the scenes, like, I mean, it's worth revisiting. Is it worth to get into a community if it's full of toxic players? What's the definition of that? Is there a threshold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not just talking League of Legends. We're talking everything. Like, for example, I was telling Jeremiah, it was last month sometime, I had a young man, he comes to my Pokemon leagues, and he has a brother who's getting into the FGC, the fighting gaming community. And I used to be a part of that. And that in itself has a lot of toxic traits. There's a lot of toxic people. And, as we go through this, you're going to find out that there's toxic people and everything. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And so he found out that I used to play Smash Brothers competitively. I used to do tournaments. And so he wanted to play me. He wanted his brother to play me. And, his brother was really good. He kind of reminded me of a younger me. Like, he had skill. And, of course, me being rusted, I don't play competitive. The only time I play Smash Brothers is with you.
Yep.
On occasion during our lunch breaks. So like I don't keep up with the meta or all the technicals or combos, whatnot.
The changes, the positioning and
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just going off muscle memory and how I used to play, adapting as best I can. And I remember playing, and there were close matches. And on one of the match, he was about to beat me. And he was playing Samus, I was playing Donkey Kong. Bad matchup for me.
Donkey Kong. You don't have to be meta to know. Donkey Kong, there should not be a win there unless there's a gap,
And I was on my last stock. He still had all his 3. And I was able to make a comeback. And his brother was the man that comes to my league, his brother, was clowning on him. And I told him, like, hey, there is a difference here. Because no matter how skilled you are at a game, if you never competed, it's a different mindset. Like when he was beating me, I was able to change my game play, my style of play mid-game, which most people don't have that practice because when you play casual, you'll play a game, you'll lose, you'll get off, you'll think how to change when it's your turn next. And tournaments, once you lose, you're out. So you have to make a change right then and there. You have to adapt. And it's a different mindset. It's like, who was that for? I think it was Nick Merckx that was talking about like all these people who, try to go into competitive, but they don't have that mindset that I'm the best. Mm-hmm. It's like you have to have that mindset. And because it's different when you're playing at home, you're playing with friends, when you're playing in front of people and you're competing for like money or prizes. And so, I was talking to the guy after loss and he's like, he wants to get into the FGC. And I told him, like, do it. I did warn him. There's going to be some toxic people. But it's up to the point of what you can hold. And I guess that's where it's going to kind of boil down to is if you're able to brush things off, to not let things get under your skin, then I feel getting into a community would be a good thing. I know for you were big in Gears, correct?
Oh, I loved Gears. Yeah. And Gears and Halo, whenever I was younger, I played with my team, J-Team and Daniel, shout out. We played a lot of these games growing up, of course, Halo 2, Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3, and we even did some tournaments. And yes, it's a different mindset entirely. But I guess that's going to lead me into the first thing. It says, like, what really makes up a toxic community? Like, what is the difference? And we'll get into that in a second. But yes, playing in these communities, it can get pretty toxic. But it's not just from that perspective, from a personal perspective, where, we're playing against a team who's just talking mess across computer screens, like whatever, walk away from it. Really ticked off one of my older friends named Jacob. And he just walked away from the set entirely, like he was upset, and from a young age, I would say that I've always had that point, like, what was the difference between that and whenever we played on the screen? And we also played other games other than those things. We played Tenkaichi, played Mortal Kombat, played Madden. We would just, like, jump through different games and stuff. I would say there are certain... To kind of like, is it worth it? Does it depend? Like, what's the level? What is this and that? I think it depends on the game itself first. As to what you qualify as toxic, and then your how would I put it?
Kind of threshold?
No, I wouldn't say threshold. How would I connectedness? For instance, if I sit down and play with Jacob and we're playing Smash, we might talk mess to each other. On occasion, we have like, "Don't you do it? Come out here." Like we're gonna talk a lot of mess. Like you try to be cute off here, didn't you? Like we'll take some shots at each other.
He's hurt me before.
I have. We fit trainer, baby. So, pocket S. But either way, though, but we will take shots at each other. Like, what's up? What are you doing? We played Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff, and we've, had really good games like that. Some not so good, but we still know each other, so we can get either past it if it's a big issue, or for the most part, it's just, we're just making fun of each other. You got to make sure you've got that type of connectedness, which is harder when you're in a massive online game with a bunch of random people you don't know, and in the case of League of Legends, it's 9. In the case of like Overwatch, it's about 9 other people you may not know, you know? And then someone starts talking mess to you. Well, it's not the same, you know? And you can't, like, there's this point of anonymity, like an anonymousness, if you will, that promotes you to be a little more heinous toward them, be more attacking at them because they aren't a person to you. They're just another player on a screen. You're not actually talking with them, so there's no connectedness. So I feel like that's like the roots of what we are considering toxic here. Is like you're talking mess like you're playing Mortal Kombat, which in itself, that's a crap talking game. People people will talk so much mess to each other on that game before the fight even starts. And
so I think it depends on the person to define what's toxic to you.
Yeah,
like I said, that's why I feel like it's what you can handle. So like Jeremiah's talking more online.
Mm-hmm.
My experience was more in person. So like I would go to fighting game tournaments, and I'm used to, like, even when I'll go to the park and play basketball, I was so used to people talking trash that I didn't consider it toxic, but I can see where some people would have. I just took it as, you know, they're trying to get under my skin, they're trying to play mind games, and they're just being an a-hole. But I can handle that, and I can dish it back. So another point I want to make with that is because I think a lot of people get confused with when a person's upset to when a person's being toxic. And one example I want to put, and honestly, you can look on YouTube and look at Salty Smash Brother videos and see how crazy people get.
Those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kiraflex. I mean, Kiraflex or whatever. Like, oh my gosh.
Like, I remember going to a tournament, and it was a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 tournament. And I beat this dude, right? He was running, like, at that time, a meta team. I was running, like, I was playing Spider-Man. No one plays Spider-Man. Spider-Man's garbage in that game. And I beat him 2 out of 3. And he got up and chunked his controller. And a lot of people have been like, well, that's a pretty toxic thing to do. Now, he chunked it. He got up. He shook my hand and told me, hey, that was a good game. Good job. I'm just pissed at myself. I was like, yeah, no worries, man. And so for me, I didn't perceive that as toxic. He's mad at himself. He could have done things better himself.
He's got an anger issue, but I agree.
Yeah.
It's still not great. I mean, at that point, it's not about the action. It's about the delivery. And it's about how you resolve that. You can be upset with yourself, and that's your controller. If you're going to break it, break it. I mean, as a kid, I'd laugh at you. As an adult, I'll laugh at you. Just probably not to your face, depending on how close we are.
Yeah.
But my thing is, for him to do that and then to shake your hand, I agree. It's like, okay, you're respecting me as the player. You're upset with the game. You do have some anger stuff, but I'm not here to judge on that, you know. If he would have thrown that controller and been like, he's garbage, that's a garbage player, starts like, you know.
Yeah. And that brings me up to another point. Like, there was a Smash Brothers I did when I was going to college, and I beat this kid. And he got up, didn't say a word, wrapped his controller, very politely, turned around at me, cussed me out, and says I was garbage, and name called me. I could handle that. I didn't care. I shrugged it off. I smirked, and I talked trash back. But that right there, I would see more as a toxic player than the guy who threw his controller. And so I know some people might see that they're both toxic. Mm-hmm. And to me, like I said, it really depends on how well you handle situations.
Yeah.
Because I think you should get into a community, even if it is League of, like, if you're passionate about League of Legends, if you really enjoy that game, then yeah, I'll say go ahead and join the community. I'm not, because I don't want to deal with the toxicness, because my patient levels aren't where they used to be when I was younger. But if you are an aspiring gamer who wants to make a name for himself, who wants to be in the community,
or herself,
you're right, herself,
themself.
Okay,
don't worry about checking, bro. Like, check yourself.
Sure. Go for it. It's up to you. Like, I think you should. If it's a game you're passionate about, you should.
Yeah, you'll get past that. We brought up League of Legends, and this is, of course, to some of the people who are just like, you're just looking at it from a different angle. It's still a great game. We're not saying it's not a great game. where we think, and as I'll put to one of my descriptions of it, is a beautiful tree, beautiful flowers, but the roots are in some pretty bad soil, and that needs to change. With them taking out all chat does not mean the community itself is better. People will find ways to talk mess. People will find ways to get at you. You can still private message people after the match. I mean, I remember back in season 3 when it was all the raid, people just pretty much dip out. You can't get the last words, you get messy. You start sending them friend requests just so you can talk to them. Don't like that right there. One, that's toxic. If you had a question, if you were sitting there right now listening and going, I wonder if me trying to friend request someone just to 1v1 them and start talking about their mom and stuff like that was toxic, I have some bad news for you. Yeah. Or good news, depending on what you want to hear. That's pretty toxic, and you shouldn't do that. If it's getting to you that much, man, or woman, young person or old, you need to walk away. I'm running ESO right now, playing Elder Scrolls, which in itself, that community can be kind of toxic. I walked into that level 46, got challenged by someone who was level 1000 to a duel. Of course I jumped into that because I don't back down. And of course I lost. I crumpled like a child would, against someone who's obviously trained his whole life. Hey, little 10-year-old, you want to see what it's like to get punched by a black belt? It's no. So I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. My thing is, I've heard this community can be pretty bad. I was just talking with my group that I run, and they were saying don't get into the main thing because it can be toxic. Yeah. But I'm playing ESO. I also don't interact with people. I just go into my own party. I don't listen to people. Everything's just a little better. It does not change the fact that it's a toxic community. And I'm kind of segueing that to say but that's kind of similar to League. I'm playing it for free. Thank you, Game Pass. And League is free. So what's the difference here? The difference is ESO is a beautiful game made by Bethesda that is the lore that they've been creating with the Elder Scrolls games, Elder Scrolls Online, The actual lore of the game, or the actual game itself, is a huge, massive story. I don't even got to play with people. I can just do the solo stuff and still not be finished within a year. There's so much to do. And League of Legends is quite purely a PvP game. You can do bots, co-op versus AI with other players. You can also do custom matches where it's you versus a bunch of bots. But it's a PvP game. You know that because whenever it goes down, whenever there's issues or high volume, the first thing they cut out is custom games. You can't do that. Second thing they cut out is co-op versus AI games. It's a PvP-based free game. And because of that, the community itself makes it thrive. Just like Fortnite, just like, was it? Apex. I mean, those two are shooters. I'm just saying, when it comes to free games and that happening, it's up to the community. I weigh on these community-based games harder because it's supposed to be a community that comes together. When I first started League, it wasn't near what it is today. Now, am I going to get back into it? Yes. And I'm going to tell you right now, for all those people who might be listening going, hey, that's pretty hypocritical. Meh, it's not. I will always go back and play if I so want to. Which is why I actually support Jacob's point as well. You think, usually when we have these talks, we might be a little different. No, I agree. I like League enough to go into it, but I will say if you're a new player and you don't want to deal with that, if that's something that's moved you away from other games in the past, toxic communities, you're going to be dealing with that. Also, though, shout out to its MMO they're trying to make. And if you haven't watched League of Legends The Call, which I would put up there with Arcane in terms of its presentation, its animation, and it's just an amazing way to showcase a couple more champions with a better light, I guess, more in depth. Pantheon's just been a gladiator to me. You go watch that. That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I am definitely going to jump into the MMO, But, again, if you're trying to get away from these toxic communities, I would suggest not. And I still stand by that.
Me, I would say, for me, if you can look past the toxic traits, are some really good things about it. Like I said, when I was playing that guy in Smash, he was really good. But I can tell that he wasn't in a community because of his quick to react, quick to adapt. He is used to playing casual competitive, where there's nothing wrong. And my thing is, if you want to amp up your skill, then you have to do competitive. You have to get thrown in the fire and reforge and come out stronger and better. But I'm also going to say some of the best friends I've made were from these communities too. You're going to have your toxic people, but then you're going to have your people that are down to earth. They are there for you, that, you know, are willing to share secrets, share trades. Like, you know, you'll go, I remember going to an anime convention, A-Kon. They were doing a fighting game tournament. It was a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 tournament. I went in. I signed up. I was talking to the guys there. That was one of the ones where the guy threw the controller. But there was another guy that was playing, and he kicked my butt. Like, he kicked my butt hard. But after beating me, he turned to me and was like, "Hey, I see you're playing, you know, Spider-Man. I don't know if you know, but there's this jab reset that you can do an ultimate on, and it's like a 90% capture rate." And he told me about it. And he was giving me tips to how to improve my game. And my thing is like, go into these communities, to these events, you know, knowing that, hey, you're going to run into some a-holes, but you also might run into some great people. Some people who are going to sit down, talk to you, have fun, give you tips, help you improve your game. Because at the end of the day, these are also just normal people who they themselves want to get better. And, you know, still sharpen still, you know?
I mean, so that's I guess where I'm coming from, though, it also depends on the type of game. Like, Smash Brothers, if people start getting upset with that, if I'm in the same room with it, I mean, I've done it. At my bro weekends, we played Smash. Yeah. I've ticked off a few of my bros with how I play. I know Jacob himself is probably not happy with certain things that happen with the jankiness that is Wii Fit, you know? But being here, right here together, we can lab together. There have been times where Jake's like, I just don't know how to beat it. It's like, well, here, you know, there's a weakness here. I don't mind pointing that out because it gets other people better. I can only get better by fighting people who are better. And if I'm in the room with you, or if we know each other, even if we're like on a Discord and we're talking and stuff, I'm going to take it back to when I said, if you're going to play League, if you got like 6 to 10 friends that want to all play together, go do that. Because that I am an online gamer. Like, we all sat in the same place in high school, but when college hit, all my friends moved off. Some moved out of state. Some are still out of state, you know? And so we had to go to online gaming, party chat, Discord, and all that.
I'm an online gamer too, but yeah. I prefer
face to face,
person to person.
Yeah, and I strive for that face to face. So I will say that if League was somehow or another, or communities similar to it, these online communities that I deem as toxic, that I feel, and I guess the internet also feels pretty bad. Like, if there was a way to get us all together in a room, get to know each other, and get to that point of knowing each other, sure. But as long as there's anonymity, you know, an anonymous point to this, or factor, it's just kind of harder, because then the insults come out a little colder. You will go harder than expected because you don't really care about the person. And that's just what I saw with League, you know. And then flip side of it, you're going to take it different. Like, I don't know who you are. Just attack me, and this is all you like. Yeah. You know, messed up. I hate this. So yes, I do agree with Jake. There is a threshold. There's a threshold, but I also think that it's also in the connectedness on a personal level. If I can connect with my, like, I mean, because there's been people, I played online during COVID with Smash, and they have that really bad app that you can talk on. But I did it in arenas, and it was great. Great people. We would talk. We would have some good times. You did get the occasional toxic person, which I will say, I always hear that Smash community can be kind of a toxic one. But honestly, when you talk to people and you're actually just getting to know each other, or like I just said, like when someone's like, I just don't know how to beat your volleyball, like you were pinpointed, like the volleyball has a good zone of you know, you can get under it pretty much. If you get in close, I'm caught off guard. You know, there's a lot of landing lag. I tell people that, they get better on it. I get better by playing them. It was great. But anytime I'm sitting here playing somebody I'm not on that app, all of a sudden they're teabagging, they're taunting next to the stage. I got to go hard in the paint, you know. People quit. I get reported. Same old song and dance.
And I think, going to another point too is when you're playing online, as Jeremiah was saying, it's a different feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Was one of the reasons why I like person to person, because person to person, you're going to have that toxic person, but they're still going to watch themselves because they're surrounded by other people. There's a boundary, I guess, if you will, something to keep them in check. Online, that's not there.
No.
People are going to unleash. They're going to get mad. But not even that. And this is also going to the person who wants to get into the communities. Don't become toxic yourself. Especially if you're playing online competitive, that's going to be very easy to, because let's face it, when you play online, you get angry faster than you do when you're playing offline.
The word of the month is check yourself. I agree with you on that one. You check yourself. If you see yourself doing toxic behaviors, and even more than that, if you find yourself trying to justify it, like, well, yeah, I said that, but this is why. It's like, no, just sit there and write it down on paper if you need to. So, I mean, I actually do that. Sometimes I'll type out what I just said, what I'm responding to. Did you have to say that? Well, here's what they did. It's like, if it seems like an excuse, looking at it, if it wasn't you, and if it looks like an excuse, check yourself on that.
Yeah.
The only way to improve yourself, or improve, is to look at yourself first, and then try to help somebody else.
I mean, because you gotta have a good mindset too. Mm-hmm. You don't want to come into a community and be easily manipulated by the toxicness and become toxic yourself. Like I said, especially online, it's a lot easier. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with getting mad. No, there's nothing wrong getting mad at your opponent and being like, I should have won that. That's fine, but you still
I've stolen many a game from Jacob, and like on one hand he might say that, on the other hand it's also good to recognize that. But I guess this takes it back to what I was saying, it's not toxic in the action, it's toxic in the execution and the resolution, So so I guess that's, if you take away anything from this entire talk, if you skip to the end, TLDR, it's to check yourself. Don't be that toxic gamer. And honestly, if you find yourself being that toxic gamer, it's not about what you say, what you do necessarily. It's how you try to resolve it, how you execute it, And I know execute and action are similar to the thing. My thing is, again, throwing the controller, yes. But if you're like, yeah, my bad, that's not how it's supposed to be. Good game, you did really well. I'm upset. You can even say, I'm upset with myself. I apologize, You don't even have to apologize. Just saying that is way better. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So if you don't like being called out for being toxic because you sit by these things and make excuses in a game set, cough, cough, league, then that's on you. You don't have to be a toxic gamer. If you want to fix that community, start with yourself.
And so for my final point is, I do think if you're wanting to get into the community, get into it. Yep. It will make you a better player.
Yep.
You will meet good people. It will be a great time. I missed it. I enjoyed it when I was there. I loved it. But do be careful, because there are going to be toxic people. Be prepared for that. But also don't become toxic yourself. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to be mad about losing the game and, thinking, well, I'm better than this person. I should have won. There's many times that's going to happen. There's many times you should have won that game and you don't. Still be respectful, though. Don't become that toxic person that ruins it for everybody. What
kills toxicity is respect.
Yeah.
As long as you respect the player and respect yourself, the game has to follow.
And that's saying, you can't. I'm not saying you can't trash talk. Like, if you know the opponent well and you're trash talking and fun,
that's different, though. Yeah. But yeah, so just do that, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up here. We appreciate y'all listening.
You got a 30-minute lunch. You got about a minute to get back to work, so good luck with it.
If y'all want to reach us, comment. I will say that if you're listening to this, we're probably going to try to upload it on YouTube as well.
Yep.
But until next time, guys, enjoy your lunch and have fun.
DLC.